Whether you're changing the wheel on your car at the side of the road, walking the dog, rounding up your chickens in the dark, or finding your way back to your tent when you're out camping, one tool that's really useful is a head torch. Today, we're going to go through the things to look for to find the very best one for you. Hello, welcome to English Country Life. Welcome to the workshop on a freezing cold winter's day. Welcome to Practical Presents. Today, head torches. If you've had to find one of your livestock in the dark, if you've fallen over guy ropes when camping, if you walk your dog at 5 o'clock at this time of year, or heaven forbid if you've ever had to change a wheel at the side of the road in the dark, then a head torch is your friend. But there are thousands of them on the market and they're not all the same, and price isn't a very good indication of quality. So today I want to point out just a few things to look for when buying a head torch, make a couple of solid suggestions, are really good ones for you or whoever you're buying a present for, and we'll link to them in the description down below, so don't bother trying to make notes, honestly, you won't need to. And hopefully we can guide you through the maze of buying the right head torch. Okay, first rule of head torch. I'm going to show you 4 today. I'm going to show you this one, which is a kind of no-name, made-up brand name kind of head torch. The sort of thing you can buy for about 10 quid on Amazon or in supermarkets. And what I want to tell you is, for occasional use, they are absolutely fine. Don't let anybody put you off buying one and go, oh, it must be rubbish for a tenner. No, they're not, actually. If you need just to have one in your car in case you need to change a wheel, if you need one for occasionally checking your chickens over in the dark, perfectly fine. Don't waste your money on anything better. If you're a full-time smallholder and you need to still be working outside at 4 o'clock in the winter, then yeah, maybe you want something a bit better. And if you're going to go searching for a lost sheep on the hills, absolutely you want something a lot brighter. But for most people, most of the time, a basic one is fine. I would say if you can afford it, you can go up to maybe 25 or 30 quid. You can get a really good head torch and they're great. And for a present, again, if you can run to that, that's probably where I would settle. But don't be frightened to have a £10 head torch. They are much, much better than holding a torch in your teeth trying to put a screw in the dark, trust me. So rule number 1, just have a head torch. So there's just a few factors that I would say to consider when buying a headlight. One of them, and they pretty much all got it, but I'm going to put it in there for completeness, is you want the ability to adjust the angle of the torch beam. If I'm putting in a screw, I want this thing shooting out straight in front of me. If I'm going for a walk in the woods, I actually want it angled slightly downwards so that I don't fall over tree roots or if I'm camping guy lines or what have you. So the ability to choose where it points, very, very helpful. So whatever torch you buy, make sure it's got that feature. The second feature that I think is really quite important on torches, and when we look at the 4 models, I'll show you this in more detail, but it's the ability to have a dim mode and a bright mode. It's particularly important if what you're doing is dealing with livestock. So this torch has a super bright mode. It also has a dimmer mode of illumination. And something I really like, it does have the ability to have a red light, a dim red light. If we're going into the chicken coops at night, and we want to lift up one bird, check it over if it's been limping or something. But what we don't want to do is wake up all the other birds and have them flapping and panicking. We don't want to go in with something that's like a searchlight. Just enough light to see the bird that we want to get, pick it up gently and calmly, remove it from the coop. Absolutely perfect. So for things like livestock handling particularly, the ability to have different brightnesses is great. If you ever walk at night, you'll know that actually, once your eyes have adjusted, you need very little light, none at all on a bright moonlit night, but even on an overcast night, a very little light once your eyes have adjusted is enough to walk by. And you don't necessarily want to be burning up your batteries and blinding everyone around you by having a super bright torch. So variable brightness, and if you're dealing with livestock or perhaps map reading, a dim red light on your head torch, really useful. Last thing to think about with your head torch is batteries, and it does matter. Now, traditionally, most of them took AAA batteries, little, very thin, very small, sort of pencil-type batteries. This one's one of those, and it has a big advantage, the ones that take the little AAA batteries, and that is, it's a dinky little thing. And if you're wearing a torch on your head, you don't necessarily want something that's massive and heavy. And most of the AAA using head torches are relatively small, relatively light. The downside of AAA batteries is they don't hold that much power. So if you're running at a bright setting for an extended period of time, they do go flat fairly quickly. As an alternative to that, this one, and this isn't made anymore, but I've linked to its newer equivalent in the description below, takes a single AA battery, and one AA can hold as much power as 3 AAA batteries. So it's no heavier, arguably cheaper if you're using disposable batteries, and you can get versions of these that take 2, 3 type AA batteries that hold a lot more power and for an equivalent brightness will run a lot longer. Then there's something like this. This takes a battery called a 21700, which is a rechargeable battery. It's quite a bit heavier than either of the other two. So why this? Well, this can put out a vast amount of light, and we'll show you that later on. Now, if I'm looking for a lost animal out in the fields, I want a lot of light, and something like this is great. It actually uses a magnetic charger, and I'll show you it very quickly in a minute. One thing I do like, and one thing I would advise is, although it's a rechargeable battery, you can recharge it in the unit and you can get spares. So if you're going out in the field for a long time, you can put a couple of spare batteries in your pocket. They're not necessarily cheap, but they are available. I don't like the ones that only have a built-in battery for recharging with head torches, because generally the battery will fail long before the rest of the unit will, and you have to throw it away, and that's kind of rubbish. You know, if you can replace the inner rechargeable battery, great. Now, one option that I haven't touched on is that comes with this one. This is a Petzl head torch, and specifically the Actic model. Again, links down below. But this can take a battery called a core. So you can buy this to just take AAAs, or you can buy it with a rechargeable battery that just charges on a normal micro USB lead that goes in the same slot the AAAs go in. So if you come to use it and it's flat, you can just bung some normal AAA batteries in and leave the battery pack recharging. But if you want to be ecologically minded and you're using it at home, you can use rechargeable batteries rather than disposable batteries, and that way save a little bit of money. Now, the bare unit probably costs about 30 quid. You can buy it complete with the rechargeable battery option, which is about 25 quid more, or you can buy the bare unit and choose to buy the rechargeable unit later. So I love the flexibility of that. Now, to be fair, any head torch that runs on AA's or AAA's, you can buy good quality Eneloop type nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries that will power them quite happily. So they've all got the rechargeable option, but I like the fact that this one's been well thought through, that you can either have a battery pack or you can use disposables. Very clever option. Let's take a very quick look then at what you can expect to get for around about £10. This one, it's got an adjustable angle when it's strapped to your head, so that's good. It's got a single button, not too fancy. One press, gives you a dim light. Second press, gives you a bright light. Third press, gives you one of these bizarre, oh, it's an SOS beacon flashing red lights. Personally, I would have much preferred a steady red light, very handy for getting the chickens, but it's got adjustable brightness. Neither of them are going to act as a lighthouse, but they're good enough for most functions. Perfectly adequate for £10. Let's take a quick look at this. It's a Phoenix torch, which is a good solid brand, really like Phoenix torches, and slightly unusual, it takes a single AA battery. So that can have some economic benefits. Has one button on the side and it is angle adjustable. So that's good. If you turn it on, You can see it comes on there with a nice bright light. Now if you press and hold down that button, it's still on, but that's a very dim mode. Hold it down again, you get a brighter mode. Hold it down again, you get a brighter mode still. Back to the dim mode, turn off and turn on. Now what I'm showing you there is it remembers what mode it was in when you turn it on again. And that's a nice feature on some of these torches. So that if you really like a bright one or a dim one, it always comes on to the right setting. This has one other feature that I really like that's quite unusual. And it's this. This is a drop-down diffuser. So with that down, you get a narrow beam that goes a long way from the head torch if you're looking for something. If you're trying not to fall over your feet, you can have a wide angle beam that covers a wider area but not as bright by putting the diffuser on. Clever little feature that, quite a nice one if you ever see it, but it is unusual in head torches. This is the Petzl head torch. Petzl, P-E-T-Z-L. It has 3 LEDs on the front. A clear white one, you can see that one's almost got like a frosted lines on it, and one with a little red ring. And the frosted look one will actually give you effectively an area light, whereas the clear one will give you a longer distance beam, and the red one will give you a red light. Let's take a look at how that works. So here's the Petzl Actic. It has, of course, got angle adjustment at the top, and you can hear that clicking. And I like that. It's like a sort of standard set of stops that holds it at certain angles. And it has a single button on the top. Press it, it comes on, and that is the diffuse area light rather than the focus light. Turn it off, press once, again quickly, and you can see you get a much brighter long distance beam. Turn off and on, and what you can actually now see is it just cycles through the settings as you press. So you have to go through them all to get it to turn off. The other feature, turn on, press and hold, and what you can see is you get a dim red light. Very useful for working with animals in the dark that you don't want to disturb, or for map reading. I really like the features of the Petzl Actic. The one thing I would change, if I could, would be to have it remember which mode I had it on when I turn it on. It remembers if it was in red or white mode. What it doesn't tend to do is come back on at the brightness that I would particularly like. When in the white mode, you have to work your way through the different settings, which is not the end of the world, because if you really want it dim, you'd leave it set on red. This is our last and most expensive suggestion. This is an Olight Perron 2. First thing I want you to notice is there are 3 straps. So it has a circle to go around your head, but also a strap to come over the top of your head. The head torch part is different because this is in effect a removable torch that can have a strap added to it. So to adjust the angle, you just pivot this round torch in the holder. I'm going to take it out of the holder to show you its brightness levels. This is the torch without the head strap on. So it has a little clip that you can put it on a shirt pocket or something like that. And it's a right angle torch. So if you hold it like that, the beam is coming out the front rather than the more normal out the end. It's actually quite comfortable to look at things with. Let me show you the brightness settings. I'm going to turn it on. It comes on as a low setting. If I press and hold, a bright setting, that's at least as bright as the brightest of the Petzl. Press and hold again, and there's a much brighter setting. It has a turbo setting. To get that, you have to double click it. And the camera is adjusting for how incredibly bright that is. But trust me, that is a blinding amount of light. So this is by far the brightest of our head torch options. It also has a moonlight mode, which when it's switched off, if you press and hold, it comes on a very dim mode. And given its fancy rechargeable battery, that mode would get you home for many, 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 many hours with enough light just to see your feet by. There's one other thing I'd like to show you about the Perron. and it's this. The Perrin 2 by Olight has a magnetic charger, rather like the modern fancy mobile phones. It's just a USB lead, so you can plug it into any wall USB adapter or your laptop or a power bank to recharge your torch. Very neat feature, I think. It's going to get dark fairly soon. When we take these head torches outside, I'll try and set the camera up so it doesn't automatically adjust for the brightness, as you saw it can do. And we just have a look at what the differences look like in the real world. Hi, you can't see me and it's dark, but I'm wearing the cheap non-branded £10 head torch. And this is its lowest setting. More than enough for walking in the dark, walking the dog or making sure you don't fall over your feet. And in a higher setting, quite bright enough to drive a screw or see what I'm doing. So second up is the Phoenix that takes the AA battery. Here it is turned on. This is on a brighter setting. And I've got the diffuser on at the moment, and you can see if I take the diffuser off, you get a much more focused beam, which is a nice feature if you're just trying to work in front of yourself and do something with your hands. You've got a beautiful area of bright illumination. Next up, the Petzl Architect. 3 light levels. This is low, and I'm bringing the coupe so that you can see it. I'll turn off again. Now here's low, medium, and high level. And as you can see, the high levels are really strong enough to search for things. But the low is more than low enough to walk around without blinding people, but you can still see where you're going. And the medium is enough for tasks. Next up is the Olight, the Perrin 2 Specialist Torch. That's a low setting. Again, more than enough for walking around. Medium, high, and turbo. Turbo is ridiculously bright, but if I was looking for something in the dark like a lost animal, this is the one I'd want. Lastly, let me show you the use of a red light. Here's some of our chickens in a coop, and you can see that the red light barely disturbs them at all compared to using a bright white light, which would give them quite a lot of alarm. A nice dull red light doesn't seem to disturb them in the dark. If we need to pick one up, health check it, put a leg ring on or something similar. Very useful feature for livestock keepers. So those are the head torches that we wanted to feature to show you the different types, to show you what they were capable of and to guide you in your purchases. What would I recommend? Well, honestly, for most people, most of the time, Petzl are almost universally known as a great quality brand of head torch. It's what they do. It's their core market. And something like the Petzl Architect, which is about a £30 head torch, is more than good enough for most applications most of the time. I think the option of having it with the rechargeable battery is brilliant. I think the brightness is fine. It's lightweight, it's comfortable, it's from a quality manufacturer. So that would be our best buy in head torches. Obviously, if you want something a bit brighter, then have a look at the Olight. And if money's tight, go for something simple. Go for a £10 no-name head torch. Generally, they work really, really well. I hope you've enjoyed that today. And if you have, can you spare us 5 seconds? Give us a thumbs up down below. We will be doing a lot more of these kind of tool reviews and practical presents, and if you'd like to see those, please tell us what you'd like to see in the comments, then hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it, and you'll hear every time we upload a new video. But whatever you do, stay warm and come back and see us soon. Take care.